Exciting, Jim.
Yeah, at least. All right. Welcome, everyone. Got a lot of people in person today. It's actually really nice to do some things together in person. We're going to call the regular meeting of the Libertarian Party of Ohio's Executive Committee to order. The time is 10:04 a.m. We don't have an acting secretary.
Chris is theoretically our secretary.
Oh, Chris,
Yeah.
are you gonna be good with the audio only connection? Go ahead and call the roll.
Sure, go for it. I don't have a roll call in front of me, but I can take names.
I will call it then.
All right. Whenever you're ready. All right. Uh-oh. You guys still there? Son of a gun.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Now I hear you.
You did for some reason. I'll call it from the top then.
Cool.
Jim Cavoli is here. Dustin Nana here. John Moeller here. Christopher Gill.
Here.
Derek Strello.
Here.
Drake Lundstrom.
Here.
And Derek Teff.
Here.
All right. With everyone present, we do have a quorum. Are there any conflicts of interest to be disclosed? We'll move to the approval of the agenda. The agenda was previously distributed as required. Thanks to Dustin for making sure that got out. Are there any changes to the agenda that anyone would like to propose? In which case, move the adoption of the agenda without objection. Hearing none, the agenda is adopted as distributed. Approval of minutes from the previous meeting. Mr. Nana.
Do we have minutes from the previous meeting?
This would be the first question to Mr. Gill. Do we have minutes from the previous meeting?
Yes.
Drake, I think, took minutes.
Yep, they're in the drive and in the chat.
I looked over them. I wasn't there at the last meeting, but they looked.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I mean, as long as you received a copy to handle for the secretary's records.
Yes.
And they
looked in order.
Okay, and they were distributed previously, as was noted. Does anyone need some time to further review those minutes?
No, I think those minutes are probably good, but I have another question. We're done.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion is to approve the minutes as were submitted. Any objections? Motion carries. Reviewing business conducted between meetings. Doesn't seem there was any recorded between meetings. There was some discussion and around the field division, which is on old business today, and a motion that I think ended up failing for lack of quorum to appoint delegation chair and teller.
That needs to be added to old business then.
So we'll go ahead and add with 10 minutes the delegation chair and teller topic.
I think it's just the delegation chair that the body sits and then the chair points
The
out.
teller's not really a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we don't have to.
That's what the motion was about. We'll-
Right.
We'll cover the
Yeah.
pertinence when we pick it up.
I wasn't sure what the correct wording was. That was
Usually the delegation chair does both. That's what it usually is, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
There's no like defined duties other than a few small.
chair and vice chair.
Herding cats.
All right. We'll move on, since we don't have any other business between meetings to cover, into the officer reports and so on. Let's go ahead and start with. Double check the order. We'll start with the Office of the Secretary, Mr. Gill.
I don't have anything to report. Are there questions for me?
Yes.
Did you get a chance to do minutes for the meetings previous to that where you were present? I'm not sure where we stand on minutes, I guess is my question.
Yeah,
Where are we
no,
at?
that was my goal was to. I'm on spring break this week, so my goal was to go through the YouTube channel and get the old minutes.
Okay.
Finally up to date. So.
All right, that works for me.
All right.
Anything further for the Secretary? Then we'll move along. Office of the Treasurer, Mr. Moeller.
Not a ton to report. We have about $45,000 cash on hand right now. We're a little bit behind our budget and a little bit at a loss today. Today we're about $200 loss. A lot of that's because we have expenses like PO Box that are all paid upfront in the first quarter. The biggest miss on our budget right now is just convention from both revenue and expenses. We budgeted a bunch of expenses and revenue. We have none of either. But other than that, not much to report unless there's questions for me.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you give us an update on what's owed to the counties? Because we're getting that question.
That was Patrick's thing. So finance should be, somebody should be telling me what to budget for them. I don't know.
So I'm trying to get to that. To get that, I need the data in the CRM,
Yeah.
and that'll be a finance report.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair.
All right, so we'll cover that in finance.
The only other thing I will say real quick, so we agreed to extend our lease here for a year at a little bit cheaper than what we budgeted for. They're very slow about getting us a lease. We're waiting for them to correct the lease and resend it to us, but we're paying rent in here through January 2023.
What was the rate that ended up?
$725 a month, and we budgeted $750 a month.
Anything further? Vice Chair, Mr. Nana.
I don't have too much specific to report in terms of Ohio questions, but nothing to report.
All right, we'll move to the Office of the Chair, myself. Similar to Mr. Nana, a little to report as far as Ohio goes. I will take a quick opportunity to note the passage of some improved firearms law in Ohio recently that was signed. It's nice to see legislation continuing to move in a pro-liberty direction whenever we can see that here. So I want to call that out and say it's a good day for Ohio on permit less carry. Otherwise, barring questions, we will proceed. LNC updates, Mr. Nana.
I have been going to conventions the past couple of weekends. I was in Michigan last weekend. It went very well. I spoke up there. It seemed like a very good bunch of people. I was in Kentucky the weekend before, same story. both states have seated their delegates for national through their conventions. They do stuff a little differently than us. We're kind of the oddball there, where we have a set criteria that requires you to be in a position of doing things to be a delegate. They just have, Michigan has approval voting, and Kentucky does ranked choice. The Indiana convention was the same weekend as Kentucky, so I wasn't able to go to that one. But I talked to their chair, Evan McMahon, a couple days after the fact. He said it went well. I haven't heard anything negative from there, so I assume that's correct. Everything should be good to go with our region. I think the only thing missing for us is we got to get our delegate counts in. We've got a little bit of time on that still. The national committee itself, there's not a ton going on. We passed our budget in December. Pretty sure I've already mentioned that at some point between then and now. And that's really like the last thing of substance we've done. The committee is unfortunately dysfunctional at times. So I think that it's kind of a collective decision to just not really do too much until national convention. We canceled our March meeting, and we have one final meeting, and that'll be the day before convention business starts on Thursday, late May. That's it.
All right, thank you. Any questions or follow-ups on that, folks? All right, moving on. Division updates. We will start with political.
Right. I have the reports loaded into the file. There's a good number of bills that are active. Jim or Mr. Foley mentioned the passage of the permitless carry. You'll find in the list that there are a couple now starting to regulate the carry of knives. There's one or two that are talking about carrying weapons during a riot, which may be of interest to review. Something that's been on Libertarian social media. There's a bill in the House regarding age-appropriate child sexual abuse instruction. And good news on Liberty Front, there are bills moving forward on eliminating the death penalty in both the House and the Senate. So that's positive. From the candidate point of view, we're not really that busy. As you know, we don't have ballot access. We have some people reaching out. I've spoken with a couple trying to find nonpartisan races this year. One going as an independent for the state house. But I think most people are going to wait to try to do something a little substantial in 2023 and 2024 if we regain ballot access. We've got activists working locally on different initiatives, ranked choice voting, eliminating qualified immunity, the death penalty repeal. We was at Hamilton County on Thursday. We had somebody speak on that. Constitutional Convention of States, I think, is now up to 17, and they're working on that in Ohio. Upcoming events, I don't know, Michelle, are you talking about training at Reno or?
I am.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the next training that we have for candidates and campaign managers will be held at Reno on the Thursday before the convention. And right now, we've got the target signatures at just under 60,000. We're hoping that'll go down after the gubernatorial race this year to kind of reduce the amount for when we go for ballot access. So that's the political report for this month.
Thank you very much. Anything further on the political division? All right, communications.
I submitted a text report. Is it okay if I read my oral report?
Absolutely. if everyone has had a moment to review the communications report, Mr. Nana.
Yeah, I noticed you also uploaded a letter alongside your report, detailing some concerns you had recently. I know you no longer plan to be a member of the National Party after the convention. I guess my question is, what do you see your affiliation being broadly, not in terms of just like membership, but like in general, like
What do you mean, like party affiliation?
like well that and just like your general thoughts on things. I mean, are you gonna like be supporting other partisan candidates that aren't libertarians? Are you only gonna be supporting independents and libertarians? What are your thoughts on the future when it comes to that? 'Cause
So I don't really have an answer yet, but I can say that I wouldn't support any partisan candidates over libertarian candidates. If that makes you feel.
fair enough.
But I really don't know. It's still too soon to tell. We're not even in May yet. So I don't know what my immediate next plan is.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. There's nothing further on communications presently. We will move ahead to finance.
So didn't support a written report. So the thing I was trying to do, since the last meeting was get the CRM up to date. It's a little bit up to date. Now we're back through last July. And then with access problems, I was not able to complete that. I've gotten better at it. So whenever I have access, I should be able to get back up to date within a week. So that is the fun part of just whenever I have access, let me know. I'll get it back up to date within a week, and then we can it'll make things a lot easier because we're able to give you a number for county payouts or the current membership number or whatever else that we currently don't have. That's it.
Thank you.
Anything further for finance? All right. I'll cover IT as I do. There's been some challenges there because my availability to cover for IT has been low lately. We're aware of some outstanding issues with single sign-ons to the website, dropping people's permissions out, and that needs to be remedied. Otherwise, the other thing of note that happened was that did have a session with Ken on the national CRM, the options there. But my thanks again to Ken for sitting down with everybody for like 2 hours in the evening to walk through all that and answer every single question. And we will touch on that again a little bit later in new business, but those are sort of the big items that are moving. Other than getting website fixed up, there are still some outstanding issues with provisioning. Actually, provisioning people, but not sending them emails.
Do you know when you would anticipate having our website access to edit the website and other things back? Is there a timeline on that? And please be realistic because I really, really need to know for various things.
One way or the other, but before I leave here today, there will be at least a workaround in place for everyone. Like, but I say we may need to turn off the single sign-on for the website, in which case your passwords will still, for now, match your normal LPO account passwords.
Mhm.
But if the latter gets changed, it won't update on the website. So that is a minor concern at this point. So today.
In addition to the convention ticketing, our delegation count.
Yeah.
Another related question, was there, or it's not related question. Was there ever any updates on the access to admin passwords and information? If your job gets even crazier and you have to drop or whatever happens, stress puts you in a coma. I know that you talked about there being a vault somewhere, and I think that at least one other person should know how to get to it and access it. Like I would recommend Helen, since she's the most senior IT person at this table, I believe, after you.
I'm sorry about that.
Thank you for your recognition.
I mean, I know a little bit of IT stuff. I've only been in the field for a year, but if you want to give me access,
Yeah,
I
there-
can't do anything with it.
There is, and it is also, just by the way, generally available to any division or office of the party to use for such purposes at vault.lpo.org. I believe it just restricts signups to lpo.org emails. Somebody with admin access to the server can go break the IT or open and add somebody else to it, but that is something that I'm aware of, and we will see. Add anyone else who wants to be around on that. I also will probably add Derek to that, if that sounds all right, Mr. Strella.
How do you get into that? Is it just my normal password and?
It is freestanding, so you do create an account and then you sign up
Okay,
to register your LPO.
so this is essentially a vault that we could use like a LastPass to store our own passwords, but we would still.
It is a self-hosted instance of Bitwarden,
Okay.
in case you're curious on the details. And yes, very much like that. So we can have organizations that own passwords and stuff in there. You can put in the two-factor codes and the passwords and notes and all that, and it's rather thoroughly encrypted.
I guess my question would be, is there some method of sharing? That's what I care about.
How do you want to share our passwords?
In the most secure way possible that also updates when they're updated.
Let me rephrase that then. With whom are you trying to share these passwords?
At least one other person besides you.
Let's say staff, you
Yeah.
can add them to the organization.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
So we have, the treasurer's office has one set up in vault.lpo.org, and we just use the treasurer at LPO email address, so Linda or I or whoever can access our passwords by logging in the treasurer alias.
Okay.
Real quick, then Jim, to answer your question, yes, if you want to add me to the admin of the password vault as the only technical person in the IT department right now, we'll gladly take that.
All right, if you can just get registered at vault.lpo.org, that would be super helpful.
I will do that.
Registered.
I am registered on it now.
And we can workshop that a little bit later. Don't want to hold the meeting up with that, but
Thank you.
yep. Anything further IT-wise? All right,
Just-
2022
you have a-
Convention Organizing Committee.
I think Derek was trying to say something.
Well, I was going to say, do you have a date? You mentioned a workaround for access on the website, but do you have a time frame for getting our convention forms up so people can start buying tickets?
Not before that workaround goes into place, and not later than soon thereafter. I mean, tomorrow is the absolute latest that should happen.
We're gonna try to get as much of that done as we can after meeting, I think, because I think that we'll get, knock on wood, today.
There's some wood.
There's a flying hole.
John took care of it, right?
All right. Anything further for IT? Convention Oversight Committee.
All right, so we have our menu completely locked in. They've communicated back to us. Their first email, they had our plate numbers a little higher than we wanted, so I got a hold of them. We lowered the plate numbers. That's all locked in. Our official keynote speaker is Donald Rainwater. He's coming in on Saturday and will be leaving sometime after his speech Saturday night. He's not charging us for travel or anything. The only thing he wants is a plate of dinner, so that's super cool. We have a social on Friday night. Clint Russell is the speaker that night. He's coming up from Florida. One of the people on the oversight committee generously offered to sponsor his travel. So we're not paying for travel for him either. We'll have to pay for a hotel room for him. And I said, if we're paying for his hotel room, we might have him do something on Saturday too. Not sure what that'll be yet, but we'll see what happens. But so Clint will be there all weekend. Donald will be there at least part of Saturday. As soon as we get the convention website up, I would like to make a registration link specifically for candidates that are running for our LNC positions that Ohio delegates can vote for. They will obviously have to pay full price to come, but I'm hopeful that we will have some time on Sunday after business to let them address the body. So I'm hoping we can milk that a little bit and get some tickets from those folks. We do have a fairly large delegation, so at least some of them should show up. Our ticket prices are ready to go. As soon as the website access is ready to go, and as soon as we get the page up, we're ready to go put the prices up. That's pretty much it. Unless anybody has any comments or questions.
Sorry, question. I have two questions. One, what is what are the ranges of ticket prices, especially for the cheapest business only ticket?
Let me look it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
Are we doing a business only ticket? Did we decide that?
We're not doing a business only ticket. No. We have it a la carte out pretty so that folks can pick and choose, but we decided with the price point for meals and the fact that they did not come down at all on any of their extra fees, we really can't afford it.
Yeah.
I guess the other question would be, assuming basic ticket or whatever kind of assumption, roughly how many people do we need to bring in to show up to the convention to break even?
Hold on. There's a spreadsheet for that. I don't have it on me. Derek has the spreadsheet. We can do the math.
Yeah,
but
my laptop, but
I'm not going to release the non-early bird prices because I would like to encourage folks to hurry up and sign up. Just know that it will go up past this. I will share these with you privately if you want. I just don't want to tell the public ahead of time.
No, all good.
Dinner, Friday only dinner, which gets you access to the dinner buffet, is $80. It'll also, every table will have 2 bottles of wine at them, and that's the night that Clint is speaking. That's $80 for that night. Saturday dinner only, if you just want to come to dinner and watch Donald speak, that's also $80. That'll get you a plate of your choice between 2 different entrees. Let me go back and tell you what they are. Friday, the buffet is spinach salad with candied pecans, strawberry, blueberry, goat cheese, citrus, vanilla, vinaigrette, rolls and butter. And then at the actual buffet itself is roast breast of turkey with cornbread dressing and gravy, and beef brisket braised in bourbon and stout with the natural jus. Also Parmesan with potatoes, seasonal vegetable saute. For dessert, tiramisu, ladyfinger sponge, and mascarpone mousse. And then 1 red, 1 white at each table, like I said. Saturday night, the dinner I talked about, it's your choice of grilled pork rib chop with peach barbecue sauce, Brussels sprouts, and mashed yams, or garlic herb chicken with garlic herb cream, sweet pepper medley, and classic rice pilaf. Dessert that night is Black Forest Torte, which is chocolate cake, vanilla bean, Bavarian cream, brandied cherries, and also Saturday night there will be a cash bar. We're paying for the setup and for the bartender, but you'll have to pay for your own drinks. The drink prices aren't too terrible, though. I mean, they're standard cash bar prices. So that's Friday and Saturday. We are selling a Saturday and Sunday package if you want to just come for the weekend for business, and that gets you business. The dinner on Saturday, that gets you breakfast on Saturday, which is a continental setup thing where you just kind of grab and go. And then Sunday also has another continental. So if you pay for the Saturday and Sunday, you get the continental, the dinner on Saturday, and the continental on Sunday, and then access to the entire weekend. That's $150. Full package, if you want everything combined, including dinner on Friday, is $220. And then, like I said, that will go up if you don't buy early bird. I'm hoping to cut off early bird. We haven't decided yet. We were hoping the website would be up a little earlier. We were originally going to say at the end of March. I think that might be kind of cutting it close at this point, so we might extend it a little bit. But I would expect early bird to expire, at least as of now, maybe like after the first week of April or so, which will give you like 3 weeks to buy your tickets from when the website goes up, and then another 3 weeks until possession to purchase with the secondary prices.
I have
Just-
one question.
To answer the question from earlier, if I may, all of our calculations were based on 70 people attending Saturday and Sunday and 35 people attending on Friday night.
Yeah, our plates, we officially asked for, I would have to go back and look at the email. We asked for 35 plates on Friday, I think. 35 people, but it's a buffet, so it doesn't really matter. That's a set cost for us. And then we have the plated is by person. He's like he said, we had 70 people coming.
Yep.
And we're making smaller amounts of breakfast on Saturday and Sunday, specifically Sunday, because I expect some people to not show up on Sunday. If I have to, I won't eat breakfast. It's not a big deal. I'm on a diet anyhow, so that'll actually be helpful for me. But I expect there to be plates for everybody, and they also make a little bit of extra plates. If tickets come in lower than we expected, we can revise down. If tickets come in higher than we expected, we can revise up. Both ways, all the way up till 3 days till convention. Once we get 3 days out, we can only revise up, which I don't anticipate being a problem. So we just need to stay on top of the ticket sales and know what we're doing. And really, we shouldn't lose money either way, unless somehow we sell such a small amount of tickets that we don't cover our food and bev men, and then we've got to pay that. But the food and bev men is like $5,500 or $6,000 or something without looking at the contract. It's been a couple months since I've seen it, so I don't anticipate us not hitting that, especially with the crazy fees and stuff. So, yeah, that was probably the biggest disappointment in negotiating with them, is that they would not come down absolutely one penny on either their admin fee or any of that stuff. I knew they weren't going to come down on the gratuity fee, but the 14% admin fee is kind of steep, and then that's before taxes, so kind of sucks. But the other thing I will mention is that the last piece is I'm waiting on pricing for staging. We either are going to need one small stage or two small stages put together. The AV package we need is going to cost like $500 and some, and that gets us the like several thousand lumen projector, the drop down or tripod screen, whichever, and then we should be able to take care of the rest of it, right, Jim? We've got lighting and all the other stuff, mics and stuff, so we should be good on everything else. And that's the very, very last piece, is the staging. They do a third party for the staging, so his name's Joshua. I've got to talk to him sometime this coming week to figure out what exactly the pricing for staging is. But other than that, I mean, we're ready to go. We just got to sell tickets. And then you had a question.
Real quick on the way our cash flow works, we keep almost all our money in state candidate fund, but we spend out of our general fund. So try to give me a day or two heads up when you have expenses coming for convention, so I can move money around.
We should not have a single expense past the deposit we already put in until after the convention.
Okay, cool.
Theoretically. All the bills should be all together. I believe, even though it's third party for the staging and stuff, I believe it comes all in the same bill from the hotel.
If you have a rough estimate a couple days before, let me know so I can move money.
Yeah, I will let you know based on how many plates we're going to end up having finally and all that stuff.
Sounds good.
They also make a few extra plates. There's a certain percentage of extra plates they make regardless of what we ask. So if there are any super late signups that we don't anticipate, we should be able to cover those folks. The only other expense that we might actually have before is the hotel room for Clint. So, and that'll be like a couple $100. I'll let you know, like the day it comes out or the day before.
So couple other questions that I had. Yep. So if someone got Saturday dinner.
Yep.
They would just be able to walk in for the dinner, they would not be able to walk into the business of Saturday.
That is correct. That is correct. We might be persuaded to make a Saturday only ticket, but the thing is it really doesn't make sense for people to buy Saturday only because there's business on Sunday too. So it would be, you know, if you want to be there for both days, you should buy the weekend ticket. We could maybe possibly be persuaded. We had it originally when we were discussing it as a Saturday only ticket, but we figured it was just too many options, too many buttons. And we think that'll be the lowest selling ticket if we make it, because you're either coming to the convention or you're not, at least we figure. If you start hearing from a bunch of people, hey, we can only make it on Saturday, or if I start hearing that from a bunch of people, we could be persuaded to maybe add that ticket. But it's as of right now, we just have the weekend or the dinners. And so, yeah, we're going to have to, and this is something the committee will take on, or I'll do it myself if I have to. We're going to have to, in years past, we were not very on top of making sure everybody that was there for certain events had their credentials set for that event. So we're going to have to make a lanyard and get some kind of stickers or something that signifies, hey, you're here for dinner. Hey, you're here for everything. Hey, you're here for Saturday, Sunday only. Hey, you're here for Friday dinner. That way, we're not wondering, hey, did this person pay after the fact?
Yeah, it's questions.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I have one, Dustin, that I don't think we brought up in our committee meetings.
Sure, go for it.
Delegate credentialing for this convention. Do we have a committee that's going to handle that?
That would be our job as the oversight committee. We have not seated a credentials committee yet. I kind of figured we would either take care of it ourselves or we would just do it at the door, and that whole lanyard process would be a part of that. If you, me, and everybody else in the committee decides that that's something that's necessary, we can seat one. But I'm not so sure we'll need one. Basically, I think it's just going to boil down to printing out a sheet of who's there for what and what ticket they bought, sitting at a table in the front of the room and saying, okay, you're here for this, you're here for this, you're here for this. And credentialing will be done during breakfast on both days.
Okay.
And then somebody will have to sit outside on Friday night before dinner and be like, hey, you're here for this. Make sure you're good to go for Friday.
A related question for Jim is the validate.LPO.org up to date?
No, that has fallen into disrepair. That is something that Scott Pettigrew personally owns. But we do have a way to validate through the state. I have the app on my phone. Let me make sure, but I'm pretty sure it just requires first and last name and county of residence. Let's see. So we theoretically should be able to take care of that. It's first, last name, and county of residence.
So just to be clear, if someone purchases a ticket and they are eligible by the rules of the state, we're not going to be getting this county sending that person or anything. We're essentially going to see everyone who is eligible by ticket.
So the convention body itself can seat the delegates that are overflow from the other counties. In years past, the central committee has set a specific number. And Trish can speak to this a little more because she's subcom chair.
Bylaws is 500.
Right.
That's a lot more.
Right. And we don't, in bylaws, it's 500, and I don't think we need to change that. But Trish can speak to it more. I mean, you don't anticipate holding a meeting to specify the exact number of delegates for state convention, do you?
I do not.
Okay. So,
I'm more just wondering,
I furthermore do not want to speculate as to who or how many people would or may be seated as delegates. In general, we've not had a problem seating delegates who want to be there and contribute in the past.
Yes.
I don't expect that we would deviate from that this time around. As Mr. Nana pointed out, it is ultimately up to the convention body itself once that event comes to order, that they have the whatever delegates there are initially themselves have the final say about who remains a
right.
delegate.
So, if somebody buys a ticket 30 minutes before the convention starts, and we don't have them on our list, and for whatever reason the body needs to approve them as a delegate, it takes 2/3 vote of the body. I'm 99% sure.
So I want to clarify, I'm thinking about asking this question poorly. People are saying, hey, I want to go to state convention. How do I be a delegate?
How do you sign up? There is a page that is currently not public facing that exists through LPO.org that we need to make public facing as soon as we get access to the website.
But the only thing you do is sign up to pay there. You don't have to have your county vote to say you're the representative.
Unless your county affiliate has different rules.
Correct.
Then
Yes,
no.
unless a county sends us a list that says, here are our delegates to the state party, no, it's just free for all.
I think the question was
Perfect, that's
that
the question.
that Drake
Yeah.
had was that previously, like I remember when we affiliated, Patrick said, oh, you've got the third largest delegate count, but I don't know what that number is, for Hamilton.
It's not a ton.
Right, so there are numbers that are apportioned based on the proportional share per county of vote for our candidate in
Yeah.
the last general, so in this case, Jorgensen,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
That's actually, I think it might be gubernatorial, but either way,
So-
same point.
Yeah, but
Either way, whatever the last applicable general, it may,
It's
I think,
gubernatorial because it's tied to the state.
yeah, maybe just the gubernatorial, but in any case, those numbers do exist. Again, however, as far as the state party is concerned, those are just the slots on the list of where delegates can be seated. We can put people into whatever county spots, especially if there aren't representatives from that county there to fill them.
Yeah.
Much like you would fill vacancies for anything else. There are not particular rules about how those county spots are used or allocated.
okay.
Unless the county affiliate themselves set particular rules, communicate particular expectations about who they intend to seat in the chairs that are attributed to them.
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, the only obvious one is a county affiliate chair.
Yeah.
That will be,
There
you know.
you go.
There's not to jump ahead, but in the Constitution and Bylaws report, there's a change that will make a lot of this confusion go away.
Yes.
So it's a lot more simplified because we actually realize there's a little bit of a loophole with it when we don't have a gubernatorial candidate.
Yeah.
So that will be simplified, hopefully, by the convention body itself when we get there. But as of right now, I mean, it's never, ever
Yeah, so
mattered.
basically, if we don't have 500 people show up,
Right,
it's
if
not
we
an
have,
issue.
yeah, it'll only be an issue if we have more than 500 people show up.
Right.
Correct, and if we have more than 500 people show up, the groom can't hold us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I look forward to that problem
Yeah.
should it occur,
Right,
on every level.
I just wanted the confirmation because I've had a couple of county chairs say, hey, what are we supposed to do? The bylaws say we're supposed to be setting our delegation somehow, and they were confused and wanted to make sure they weren't dropping the ball. And I'm comfortable with this confirmation.
Yeah.
And I will send them
Yep,
this
yeah, they will
just
just,
timestamp, and they will figure it out.
yeah, you would just have them sign up on the delegate
Good up
page, and then they can get in the queue, and then it'll follow the bylaws of who's gets a seat automatically, and then everybody that's left will likely get a seat.
Perfect. I will stop derailing this.
Just
That's a really good question.
Just to give you a little background, 4 years ago, Central Committee had a 4.5 hour long meeting discussing adding more than 500 delegates because the breakdown list showed counties that had like -1 based on the population vote count. And the thing is, I think that convention wound up having 78 delegates. So we spent more time arguing about the delegate count than actually doing anything. It was
Great
crazy.
sense.
Sound like libertarians.
Yeah, you spent 3 minutes per delegate.
So, happy to answer any other comments, questions, or concerns. But that's pretty much it from me. That's all I can think of right now. Excellent. All right.
All right, cool. Assuming that there is nothing further on the Convention Oversight Committee, look for any updates on Constitution and bylaws, which Just come up.
Derek's chair of Constitution and Bylaws, so I'll let him take that.
We have concluded our meetings. I'm still trying to piece together the nice 3-column report to present to everybody. I'm hoping to have that done tomorrow.
Excellent.
And our
It's coming up
deadline
on
to
the 30-day deadline, so I will.
Yeah, the
when I-
deadline's the end of this month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just to be clear, does that have to be presented to CENTCOM, XCOM, or both?
It just needs to be turned in and put on the website to satisfy the
Yep.
bylaws.
It just has to go up on the to the
A
public.
copy of it should probably go to, actually, I would say the central committee.
Yeah.
So Trish.
Okay, yeah, so me.
Yeah, we'll just
All right.
CC you on the.
But we actually
Basically,
stopped meeting over a
Basically, it needs to go out to the membership at large, the public. So send it to everybody or nobody or
Yeah, send it to
as long as it
everybody.
goes on the website, do that, and after that,
I imagine it'll end up in some sort of version of LPO in the know if one goes out between now and the convention
yeah,
as
That
well.
makes sense.
one needs to.
But I think Dustin could agree with me that this was probably the easiest committee we ever had for Constitution and Bylaws. We had discussions, no real fights. Everything got voted on. I think everything passed unanimously. I think we have a good package to present to the body.
I am so happy to hear that, and yeah,
We did not oppose.
glad it's good. Everybody's aligned on the opportunities for improvement.
Take whatever
Let's
it is,
say.
2 years
Um,
leading up.
Is there anything further about Constitution and bylaws?
It basically.
Is this sidebar something that should be for the body? It's loud on the.
I'm sorry.
Is the sidebar about Constitution and bylaws?
Sure,
The
it
Constitution and
it can
bylaws.
be. There was, all right, I'll frame it this way. There were some questions about whether or not we wanted to get rid of the central committee model and eliminate that tier of management and then do like a direct election of XCOM at conventions. We looked into it as a committee and decided that it was insanely over cumbersome and just not something we were going to be able to do in the time frame we had. Also, looking through, at least personally, and maybe a couple other people on the committee, if not all the committee, pretty much agreed that that might actually not be the best way forward. It would take a restructure of essentially the entire governing documents because so many different bits and pieces either mention the central committee or tie the central committee in somehow, or, essentially what you would have to do is rewrite everything from start to finish.
Yeah.
So it was not something we were going to be able to do. And we also decided that it was going to be extremely hard to pass. Well, not even that, but also it was going to be extremely hard to even figure out how to structure it at that point. Because then you have to either go to a regional model or something for the executive committee, for the at-larges, or you have to go to just a free-for-all at-large. And we just decided that it just didn't make sense, at least at this time. It's going to take years of work. So between now and 2024, when we have our next regular convention, would be the time for folks who are inclined to do that, to hash that out publicly, privately, whatever. And then when that next committee is seated, apply for that committee or send their input in. We also had, I wanted to mention, Ms. McCutcheon sent in pretty recently a change to the way we seat delegates for convention, both national and state. I don't think we're going to take it up at this time. There was a seasoning requirement. I think the members of at least this current committee felt that our current bylaws that require you essentially to be involved in the party to begin with were sufficient enough to prevent any sort of a takeover attempt. But again, that's something I encourage those people that support that to, put proposals together between now and next convention and get that set to go. The other thing is, general members can submit changes to the Constitution and bylaws to the body themselves. They have the same deadline we do. So that would be the end of this month. You would send that in, and it gets the same recognition that our report does.
So in my defense, or just for clarification, if I may, I sent that to both Helen and Derek as a possible thing, like, hey, in my reach out to state chairs and one of them said, hey, I've got some new bylaws that my delegates worked on that you might be interested in. So I just forwarded that over. I didn't even change, the state was New Mexico, I didn't even change the verbiage, so it wasn't an actual submission.
Yeah, and I think it would, and I, at least speaking personally, I think it would make more sense to have a seasoning if we didn't already have a system in place. And I know a lot of states don't, like, in fact, I can't think of another single one, there might be one out there that has the requirements that we have.
Yeah.
Most are just kind of people that show up, or the people that show up.
Right,
Yeah.
and ours is pretty good, but that's why I threw it out there in case somebody wanted to.
Right, Kentucky doesn't have those rules. However, they have state rules that say you register as a party there. So they have to register as a party by January 1st or whatever as a Libertarian to participate. So they can't, and then once you're registered as that party, that's the primary you vote in. They don't have open primaries where you can just be like, oh, I'm a Republican today. You have to declare what you are at the beginning of the year and then follow all the way through until at least the next year as that party. So every state's different. I think we've struck a pretty good balance here with having open primaries and the ability to vet those people accordingly.
Yeah, I would second that notion that we are in a pretty okay place, a pretty well-developed place, especially for open primary states, dealing with credentialing and sort of verifying people, whatnot. And beyond that, I would encourage anyone who is concerned about possible takeovers and what have you that firstly reassure you that we do have some rules in place that have been working well for Ohio that keep good libertarians involved without too much energy, and people who aren't libertarians, generally not showing up trying to be involved in the first place, but like they wouldn't be allowed by the rules as they stand anyhow. And beyond that, I would encourage anybody who would put a lot of time or energy into trying to design the perfect system to prevent takeovers, that one, it doesn't exist, and two, that energy is probably better directed into building something that is worth taking over. So
Let's make it clear, given my day job, I would like it on the record that was not sent over as an anti-takeover anything.
Yeah.
Please don't cause me to lose my job.
No.
No.
That was the language of the follow-up question over here. That was
my
yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
I was just gonna do
Yeah.
a follow-up that depending on what's submitted, I am planning on
Not my intent.
clarifying Ohio's rules because I am strongly in favor of some donation seasoning requirement, which we don't have.
Membership, that's part of,
Yeah, that's,
not the hijack the report that's
Yes.
coming up, but that
Yeah.
is part of the
That-
report.
I'm excited
It's a
to
better
see that
membership
report.
definition. We've long needed a better membership
Yes.
definition. It is slightly distinct, but yeah, I it's is what it is. And
Yeah, well, I just wanted to comment that I think that the report will answer some of the questions about it,
I
and
hope.
that
I hope so.
it'll go well.
I don't know. So,
And if we disagree, we'll submit our counter proposals after seeing the report.
yeah, and in any case, like really at the end of the day, it's a system that at least right now we are familiar with and has been working. We know how to operate that. If we see shortcomings, totally open to further revisions as you suggested, and I would expect that the convention would take those things up if we see deficiencies that are there. I just
The main one I've just seen is confusingness.
yeah
they are currently confusing,
and
which is why.
along those lines, if we have it written better,
Yeah.
that's great, and if we don't, then even going to the trouble of like just putting together a pamphlet that says here's the condensed version, like the state does for everything they've ever enacted. That kind of works.
Yeah, we trampled all over Mr. Stralow's report.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It was short and happy at the beginning, and we got into this whole separate conversation, and that's
Hey, if we don't have a 3-hour debate over the membership changes, I'm going to be very upset.
noted.
We might not, man.
Yeah, like I said, noted. Is there anything further on Constitution and bylaws?
I have a kind of a related question for convention, if I may.
Yes.
Sure.
Central Committee currently does not have a secretary. If I
That's
remember
correct.
correctly, Central Committee secretary is usually the secretary at convention.
That is correct.
How are we going to resolve that, because as we're going through constitution and bylaws, we're gonna need people to keep track of amendments, proposals, votes, and all that fun stuff.
So that's a great question because I believe Trish told me she's not going to be there. She has an obligation that she has to meet. So that's going to mean that either yourself, Ms. Estrella, will be chairing the convention, or Jim or myself will be chairing the convention. And so that also eliminates all of us from taking the notes at any given point. So we will need to find somebody that either wants to step up to be the secretary for just that event, or to be SETCOM secretary.
Yeah, the shortest possible version there is yes, 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 and yes, and that is a problem, and stay tuned. We will be talking about that in the immediate future here. I mean, ultimately, that is a position that we would definitely want to make sure is done reliably. There is a compliance aspect to it, but beyond that,
So
we'll hammer it out.
I'll throw in real quick. I've been the secretary at convention before, and I'm willing to do it this time if we need it.
Hey, now, you volunteered yourself. So
And John has publicly volunteered himself. So
I'll
we
be-
got great
I'll be
optics.
at the convention.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's no-
Well, I'll throw out there, I would have no problem coaching on behalf of Chair Sprankle. If someone else wants to co-chair with me, we'll just divvy up the duties so we're not both tied up the entire weekend on, up front.
Yeah, you'll have to lay the gavel down to give the Constitution and bylaws report anyhow. So
I expect, as usual, Derek, between us, we'll be trading off shares,
Yeah,
and
usually
and
it's sorry to talk over you.
Yeah.
It's a CENTCOM event, so theoretically the order should be Trish. If Trish can't make it, Derek. If Derek can't make it, somebody else on that committee.
yeah.
But the convention can also elect a chair or whatever we have to do. I'm free to be a parliamentarian if I need to be. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
I'm sure it will be covered.
All right.
All
I
parties
will
are-
plan to chair the convention then.
All right.
Sounds good.
Anything further? Constitution, bylaws, election generally. All right. Barring objection, go ahead and let the meeting stand at ease for remaining 9 minutes till 11:10. Give everybody a brief break here. We'll come back to old business, any new business from the floor, and wrap things up. Sound good?
Great.
All right.
Schedule.
Be back in 8 minutes now at 11:10. So
you can remove me from the state health list.
All right, let's get ourselves back to order here. It is 11:10.
They're very real cheap, but
All
That
right,
would be what
we're
I'm-
coming back to order.
I like that our party is loud because they talk to each other. not
Yes.
because they're-
Oh, it is very good.
We're having a fist
Oh,
fight
we're
over
not
the mic.
Do you want to preside over the old business?
Preside over old business? Sure,
business.
I sure can. I plan on debating, so we're gonna need a chair
For
when we
which?
get to B, but
B? I might save you the time there. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let Dustin take the gavel here, preside over our old business section at least until he can't.
okay. So moving on to old business now that we're back in order here at 11:10. Next item is field division consideration. This is something we talked about at length at the last meeting. There has not been any movement on it online. I haven't really heard much about it since then. So I
Mr.
guess
Chair?
I'll open it up to anybody for discussion. Yes, Mr. Strayler.
The day of meeting, I did start a discussion thread in the XCOM channel about this. And as soon as I put in my recommendations, no one responded to anything after it. It went crickets. I don't
Well,
know
you
if we
must
want-
have had terrible recommendations. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't know if we want
Okay.
I don't know if we want to pull that up and use that as a basis to start this discussion.
Let's do that. Let me open up Chrome and let me get to the Rocket Chat.
I had trouble finding.
Yeah, I'm honestly I can't even be honest and say that I even saw that. So let me find it. You said it's in XCOM.
If you search for field.
You have to search for it.
Oh, actually, I'm not finding. it. Search
You
for
can just
field.
go to threads up at the top. There's a button for threads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was literally the day of. Or the day
XBI.
after.
This one, yeah. Threads. I don't see it.
And then you can change that filter to all.
Right. Is it this March 4th? Is that it?
No,
That's got to be too late. It says something about field.
Yeah, I know you. I know
It
you
was
added
Feb-
me
it was
to it once.
February.
It's a topic. It's a discussion topic. that
Oh,
you
it's a
have to be added
discussion?
to.
Okay, then
Yeah.
discussions.
That's
next
why
button
that
over.
explains it.
I did that. to try
There
to
are
get
one too many grouping
it
features.
lose, everything.
I like grouping features, but I think you're correct. Yeah. Okay, so I found it. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, I think that's why people missed it is because I didn't know it was a topic until now, and I still don't know what topics are.
It's just another thread feature, essentially. It's
Yeah,
the same
I
thing.
put it as a topic to try to contain it so that we could have other discussions without jumping back and forth,
Mhm. No, I
Yeah.
get it.
just like we do
I
for
guess-
motion. So,
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I guess this maybe for future topics, you just tag everyone or something because I think people just didn't see it.
Anyway,
We're in here now.
Yep, we're here now.
Okay, so if everybody that's interested in talking about this wants to pull this up, it's under topics under executive committee. It's titled Field Division. And then there's a little bit of a plan laid out here. Helen, it looks like even put a little org structure in there. Yeah, so we got something to start with. I guess the broad question for the body is this something we're still interested in doing? If so, I'm going to structure this discussion with people raising their hand. That way it doesn't get out of control. So if somebody has anything to say about this, I'll take first person that has a comment. No hands in the room. Oh, Mr. Lundstrom.
I just want to open by saying I am still in favor of doing this. I don't know enough about the old structure to comment too much, but kind of a question that I would have to Helen is, so the picture that you showed was the previous structure? and you
It
would
was
add-
like 2 structures ago.
Okay, and I think that most of that sounds good. I would just want to make sure to probably add another section for like something affiliate specific.
That's fine. Just to,
You can answer a question.
the way I understood it from our last meeting discussion, the chair was going to only take a vote, have a vote of whether or not to suggest creating the division, and then he would select the person, and that person would create the model of what it would be.
And
That's my recollection.
yeah, and if I may,
Yes, Mr. Cavoli.
to that end, I would suggest to the body that anything beyond the authorization to create the division should not be included in a motion as a prescriptive action, but perhaps and provide to the new division such and such a recommendations. I think it would be inadvisable to get into the business of more intimately managing the operations of the divisions from this body. We should be careful to not accidentally make ourselves responsible for that.
I just wanted, before I take Mr. Lundstrom again, does anybody online have any comments? I can't see your hands, so.
Yep, I'm trying to figure out how to raise hand on this thing, but yes.
You can't. I can't, or at least from where I'm at, I can't see.
There's a hand thing. If they use it, you'll see it.
Okay. Do you have a question then, I assume?
Well, I was just going to reiterate from our last meeting that the requirements from Mr. Cavoli to have a structure is what kind of derailed this from being voted on last meeting anyways. So the proposed structure I provided, if that's not part of the motion, we would need to separate that, but the structure I proposed should be in that discussion. I'm still trying to pull it up. It's not loading for me for some reason.
Okay, okay. Okay. Mr. Lundstrom?
I think that there was miscommunication last meeting that after like thinking about it and coming back in, we should almost start over from scratch here, and it'll be clearer and easier. If I think that would make sense to get like a clear request of what exactly Jim wants, like what, and it sounds like we had that as permission to create it, and we can provide a recommendation. And I guess a question that I would have for the body would be, will we be interested in putting someone in to create the division, but not necessarily planning on keeping them there long term? Because I'm really sorry, Helen, you're the person that knows the most about the field division. Would you have any interest in being the head of it for like a month or two, just set it up and then let someone else take charge? Or would you want to head it? Or kind of like, this is the question to you about, that would be, if I was in charge of everything, I'd say Helen's in charge for 2 months, sets up org structure, then appoints a successor.
So
If you also have that freedom.
the whole discussion, I think, is a moot point, and the real thing that we need to do in the interest of time is take a vote on whether or not to recommend it to the chair that we create the division and let the chair do chair things and the director do director things.
Sounds good.
Anybody else? Mr. Lundstrom?
I asked Jim what he thinks about this since he's the chair being asked to do chair things. I want to make sure you're on board.
I mean, respectfully, and I mean this in the most professional sense of the words, I don't care. I'll do the job. Let's agree what needs to be done and we'll go out and do it. I don't have a horse in this race beyond wanting to do the best thing for the party. And that's what all this discussion has borne out from a bunch of people who are much closer to the problem and the day-to-day work than I am. And so I'm happy to take all of that together and carry out whatever plan y'all need.
I just want to make sure we're not dropping an enigma wrapped in a problem.
I think
As far as, so what I will say is, as far as procedurally, and I think this is what Jim is trying to allude to, literally all he has to do is be like, make it so, and then it's so. And then from that point forward, he will have to appoint that person, and generally he's going to get permission from the body to do so. And then beyond that, it's going to be up to that person to do what they do. So really for him, it's just, do we want to do it? What are his marching orders?
Yep. Absolutely.
So I guess to that effect, unless there's more discussion on this topic, I would like to know if there's a motion to do anything here.
I will motion to. Can I work out the wording before I make the motion?
Please do, yes, yes, please do. I'll give.
Ask Jim to create a field division, or give direction to the chair authorize the chair to create a field division.
So what I heard was there's a motion on the floor to authorize the chair to create a field division. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second.
Who is
there
the
any
second?
discussion? Mr. Strela, I
Strello's the
believe.
second.
So do we have any discussion on this topic, on the motion itself of creating this division?
I'm in support of.
Is it assumed that by creating the division that it is a director level position at the top, or do we have to specify that in the motion?
I would say no. As the chair, I would interpret that as no. We do not. It was, I believe that the answer to that question is no.
The answer to the question that we don't have to specify it, or
We do not have to specify. It's a creation of a division, so therefore it would follow that it would have a director. Is there any discussion on this motion?
I'll say one thing. I'm not against creating divisions, but I do think that just creating divisions for the sake of creating divisions without tenets or without some concrete deliverable is not productive. So it doesn't have to be part of the motion, but I would like to see some regular update about what's being done. Like if we authorize the chair to create a division today, I would want pretty regular updates, not until next meeting, about what's being done with the division.
Okay. Fair enough.
So
Mr. Lundstrom.
You're saying that beyond the meeting to meeting director report and the Tuesday director meeting, which sometimes doesn't happen, like, are those enough?
Yeah, if there's work being done on the Tuesday directors meeting, then I think I would like to see some output from that meeting. Otherwise, we're going to come here in a month and there's going to have been a field division shell created, but it's not going to really work to solve any of the problems that we're seeing. So if there's a Tuesday director meeting that's happening and there's real work going on, let's try to get output from that and include this field division that potentially be created.
That's right. There is sometimes work done there, and sometimes it's just there's nothing to do, so then we don't hold it. Like if everyone's blocked by website problems, we're not gonna sit around for an hour.
But
that makes sense.
Just as it's related to the field division, let's try to get some regular updates about what's being done beyond just creating another shell.
Okay, makes sense.
Anybody else? Hearing or seeing anybody else, please chime in if I'm missing you on the call. If there is no other discussion, we will move to a vote. Jim, you want to take the roll on this?
All right, Chris, you ready to transcribe vote results? I'll call the roll for you.
Yep.
All right. And in that case, we'll go ahead and
Please call me last.
yeah. So I guess we'll start with myself. I will pass. Move to. Sorry. Mr. Moeller,
Aye.
Mr. Gill,
I'm going to abstain. Or also, yeah, I don't have a strong vote one way or the other.
Mr. Strillo,
Aye.
Mr. Lundstrom,
Aye.
Mr. Taft,
Aye.
And then Mr. Nana. Well, I guess passes, you want passes first.
What's the vote total?
Currently 5 in favor, 1 abstention, and
I'll
1
abstain then
pass.
since I'm presiding.
And I will.
Pardon, what was that, Dustin?
I abstained.
Is pass the same
Okay.
as abstain?
No,
Pass
pass
is
is a
automatic.
revisit. So
Yeah.
it now is back to Mr. Cavoli. Your vote, please.
I don't think your vote's needed. You can- since-
And I can
So
abstain.
we've got 4 ayes and 2
And I will
abstentions.
abstain as well,
So that makes it 4-3?
which brings, by my record, 4 in favor, 3 abstaining.
Yes,
All right.
correct.
So that motion passes. So we will instruct the chair to create a field division and see where that heads.
I have a question.
Yes.
In regards to proper Robert's rules. If you don't vote in a vote held where you could vote, is that automatically considered abstention?
No.
So there's a difference between not voting and abstaining. Abstention technically has the same effect as a no vote, even though it's not a no vote. Not voting means you didn't vote and you're not a part of the vote total. So as long as enough people with quorum vote, we get it. On our committee, it's small enough that it takes 4 regardless by my interpretation. So effectively, for this purpose, all of the above other than saying yes is a no vote. Effective, but it's also.
Usually that distinction only becomes important in the case of typically with larger bodies or with otherwise and like sketchy pass, like whether something that'll be close to the line to pass on motions to revisit and things like that, where which side of the total you're on matters, and abstention could kind of go either way, but it can't move the scale.
I didn't bring my book with me this time.
I have it if you want to look at it.
I'm pretty sure that if we had 2 yeses and everyone else abstained, that would pass.
Not by my understanding.
Like there are specific votes that say, like there are requirements, like a bylaws requirement, it says majority of body or it says like other stuff, but I believe that abstentions, you still count towards quorum, but you're not a no.
He's right if it's a majority vote, but if it's something that needs a 2/3 majority
Yeah,
or 7/8 of the body, that's different. But there is the difference.
Yeah, but if it's just a majority vote, if everyone abstains but one person says yes, that's a yes.
Well, so it depends on what you mean by abstention. If you expressly abstain, which is what 3 of us just did,
Yes.
then you count towards the vote total. If you say I do not want to enter a vote, then you are correct.
That was the totaling that I was doing. I was making sure that my abstention wouldn't color the otherwise completely unanimous yeses.
Sorry, I will read this and we'll get back to it. I don't want to derail
It's-
this.
that's fine.
It didn't affect this, so we're okay, but I would like to know this in the future.
It's always nice to be right. So I'll keep chairing until I don't think I can anymore, because I do intend to debate at some point. The next item of business is the CRM committee.
If I may on the introduction.
What's that?
So if I may on the introduction of the topic.
Sure, Mr. Gaboli would like to go first, and I think that's fair.
First off, I would like to thank everybody for the participation in reviewing the options that we have in this space. Obviously, it's an important mission critical system for the party, and one that I have personally spent a lot of time in and around during my tenure in various roles. I would like to also, I guess, thank everybody and remind everyone that it seems like there's very little contention over a lot of the choices that we need to make, and a lot of concern around many of the details in the how. But we have navigated that before. I would to this effort, whichever direction it's decided, offer my full energy as much as I can muster to make that happen, because I think it leaves both the party and myself personally in a much better place. So whatever recommendations we can get together, either from a whole on proper committee or by a simple resolution of this body, I look forward to having some closure and, again, direction and marching order for what happens next in this space.
Ms. Gilson.
Is it appropriate for me to make a motion as a non-voting member?
No, but you can ask for somebody to sponsor a motion, and I'm sure somebody will do that.
Would you sponsor a motion to rip the Band-Aid off and move us to the national CRN as soon as they are capable of bringing us in? I think that
I would
it's very
ask for
likely
the
it would be
discussion before
under
we vote on
a
it.
month.
It might be faster than 2 months, honestly, but yeah.
I guess the only reason I'm a little bit hesitant to sponsor that right now is, I don't know what the word is. I want to make sure if there's any discussion to be had before I think it makes more sense in the discussion once we have a motion. We can just like discuss based on that.
The motion if you.
Yeah, then I will sponsor Helen's motion.
Is there a second to that motion from the committee?
I second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Now we can begin discussion on this item. Who would like to have their input on this?
I would.
Okay, Mr. Strelo.
I'm sorry, but I cannot find on this app where to raise the hand. I saw someone at the office.
It's okay. Don't worry. If the people on the call need to interrupt, I'll consider that a hand. It's not discourteous. I totally get it. I can't see your hands
Okay.
from here anyhow because I don't have the little piece.
Okay. Given the discussion we had last meeting, given all the discussion between meetings about our issues, and given the presentation that we attended from Mr. Molman on the national, I would like to initially try to limit our movement to the two most critical pieces, being A, the primary website, and B, the member database, and us try to maintain control over the rest with our single sign-on system until such a point national single sign-on reverse compatibility is working. I don't want to hand everything over to national and have our hands tied behind our backs on some of the oddball functions that we have the ability to run currently. That's
Let
my
me
2
ask a
cents.
question then of Mr. Cavoli, or just let him respond, I guess, since he was about to.
I suppose I should technically direct this to the chair, but
Sure.
The-
Yeah. we kind of then not, but-
you know, I think certainly speaking from the position of the guy who's likely to be on point from the technical perspective to make this motion's intent happen, I would express my full confidence that we can work out a lot of the implementation details along the way, of which I would consider concerns expressed by other members to be. And at the end of the day, the website and the member database is like all of it. Like that is all that they support. That is all that we are running for the that we're using. I mean, we do operate some other ancillary services, and sure, I don't understand, and certainly wouldn't interpret this motion to be a shutdown of all LPO resources in lieu of national ones. The comments that have been made or the motion, as I understand it, is currently scoped to the national CRM project. which is in and of itself a subset of things that National can provide, a subset of the things that we need, and a subset of the things that we operate. It's certainly only switching a few shells around, not the whole carton.
Well, maybe I should clarify. We have the capability of supporting county affiliate websites. My understanding is National does not do that at this time. We have the ability of putting up subdomains of our own that National does not support at such a small level. So that's what I mean is I want us to retain that capability. I don't want to just push the entire website and domain control and everything else solely to them and tie our hands on things like that. I'm not even talking about chat or any of the other stuff that we run that we would maintain. I'm saying I want us to still have the capability to do some of the functions on the website that National does not support at this time.
So let me ask a question directly to Mr. Capoli then, and hopefully clear up this confusion. What do we currently do outside of like chat and Drive and that stuff that National does not do that you would anticipate us needing to continue on with? Is National? So you were in the presentation.
Yep.
Is it your interpretation that National is not able to set up affiliate websites or any of these other services?
That is correct. By and large, they are not either equipped to or interested in currently providing those other services. Do you want an enumeration of what those are?
Sure.
So beyond the main website and the CRM, and I'll retouch on the website in a second here, we operate a few county affiliate sites, chat.
How many county affiliate websites do we operate?
Presently, we have 3 running. As well as our own satellite site for our candidate slate at votefreeohio.com. We operate a cloud storage feature, Drive, which everyone on this body is familiar with. There's a URL shortener service, Go. There is an unreleased help desk system. There is our user management provisioning app. We have a few things that are supporting services to Drive, and a few things that are, again, background services. That includes the publications, our official record of constitution, bylaws, and SOPs. That includes, again, a few other services that are in the background, Vault, and for the passwords, that we have the source code for Validate, not the data for it. Our webmail, our email generally, our LPO shop, and that is most of it.
So I see your hand. Let me do you first, and then I'll sponsor you to speak.
So is it not possible to have an internal facing website that we could still operate those from and not be connected to the CRM and public facing website?
Yes.
So we wouldn't shorten ourselves from having any of those.
No.
And somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. I'm fairly certain that if those websites have to exist outside of the national parameters, the national website that they operate for us could easily have a hyperlink that says Warren County. You click it and it goes to our site. So
yes,
theoretically it's linked, but it's not.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of choices in how things actually get set up here, right? And any version of using the services that the National Party offers does not preclude us also continuing to operate the my.lpo.org, the portal that everyone is familiar with, and all the things that are running on there. To include county sites, to include chat and all those other things. It's very much up to us on how we move our own things over. There's a lot of choices there. There's a lot tied into the website. There's a lot of ways to solve that problem. But for example, we could, for things that aren't well taken care of inside of the main system, if we keep that working right up at lpo.org, for the site the National provides, for example, we know right off the hop that we will not be able to run our LPO shop right on the site where you check out on lpo.org. We will have to move that to something like shop.lpo.org and do the exact same things that we're currently doing on a slightly different name part and change the links. But that pattern works for anything that we need to extract. And after that, we again have choices, right, on whether things, if it doesn't support it at all, we'll run it outside of that site, link them together. If there is an option in the national system that we want to use, we can just use it in place there, but they don't block each other out. Certainly, especially for county sites, given the necessary limitations that are there nationally, I certainly don't understand move to the national CRM to mean and shut down our county sites at all. And we currently run those. All the other services that we currently offer.
That's not my interpretation of the motion either, just to
Still
be
run.
clear.
Yeah.
As presiding officer right now, this is not a mandate to close shop for everything we do and only use national services. It's a mandate to use the national services that are available in combination with the other services we need to use.
Frankly, it doesn't even preclude us continuing to run our own separate CRM and feeding everything
Sure.
into both
Which
places.
would be
which I don't want to do,
insane, but sure,
yeah.
why not?
Oh,
Sure.
RCR is what-
And
Okay, I wasn't taking the motion as being a mandate to do that. I was just participating in a discussion to make sure that no one wants that to happen. You know what I mean? We don't currently have an IT director. Jim is still acting IT director. He's going to be doing the brunt of it. I do trust his abilities and his decisions, but us as a body need to discuss what exactly the expectations are here, and that's all I was trying to do.
Let me hear from Ms. McCutcheon because she raised her hand a little bit ago.
If this national CRM doesn't allow county sites, you could have fooled me. Been on several state sites that it looks like they have the county breakout sites. Now, from an IT perspective, very well could be just a hyperlink or whatever, and I'm not seeing that, but it doesn't appear to function differently than what we've got now. The drive and the chat function are the two big things that I noticed right off that we wouldn't have. We had emailing in between, event posting, all of that. So
Yeah.
If I may.
Yes, Mr. Strela.
Mr. Cutchin, it's not that they don't offer county sites. They limited it to one page. So we could not have a county that's very active that wants to create an event page, and all this other stuff. It's one page is what we were told in the presentation.
okay, that I can believe. Typically, they have the chair name, maybe all the officers, and a hyperlink then in that link to their site as well as a contact us email. And that might be enough for us. That'll leave up to our officers in the body to decide.
Ms. Coyle.
So from an IT perspective, technically, there is nothing preventing us from operating county sites using LP National's services. The only question is whether or not LP National will allow that. And regardless, I think it's a great bonus that we're offering county sites, but really that's the responsibility of the counties to have their own websites up. That's all I just wanted to say.
Mr. Lundstrom.
This is just a point of privilege. I want to make sure, Derek, can you hear the people that are sitting farther away from the mic? Like, could you hear Brianna and Michelle right now?
Yes, I can hear them. They're a little echoey, but
I just wanted to make sure. Sometimes the mic doesn't pick up well.
It's a good mic. Mr. Moore.
Mine's a little bit different, so if there's more discussion. Otherwise, I want to ask the question, do we have a quote from National and what are the budget implications? So we're talking about keeping a lot of existing services. IT is already, when I say overwhelming majority, the overwhelming majority of our expenditures are already IT budget. We need to think at least about if we're going to keep all the other things running, it's going to massively increase our budget, make us go in the red for sure.
Well, let me ask you a question. What do you mean by that? Because as far as I understand, it doesn't cost money to go on national.
Well, if that's the answer, then that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's free.
Okay.
It's not a subscription service.
Theoretically reduce some of our IT costs.
It should theoretically reduce some costs.
It'll take some time to transfer over and then
Right.
start shutting stuff down.
Any other comments on this motion?
Well, I guess that is the question for Jim. If we're going to keep things running so that we can run our own store, our own county affiliate sites, et cetera, is there actually going to be any cost savings? Are there any software licenses we'll be able to eliminate by going on to the national database and the primary website? Or are we keeping everything running in parallel and still need all of our current software?
Yes, the website and the CRM themselves constitute the overwhelming majority of the software licensing costs. Now, to be fair, that is not the majority of the IT budget, but it is a massive plurality. Presently, there are some, because this is an open topic and so on, there are some things that we have so far actually deferred making a decision on renewing right now. Like specifically the CRM itself, we have 2 extensions that we use there, which annually are $395 and $388 a piece. So that is quite nearly $800 right there. The donations system that we're using is also not free, but we pay about, I think we're on the $500 a year version of that. I mean, it makes us all the money, so kind of worth it. But I mean, that's about $1,200 or $1,300, and then the final piece would be the calendaring. In which case, there's another few $100 there for the events calendar and the community submissions and all that.
So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to try not to do this while debating. Is it your interpretation that we would be able to drop the CRM because we're going to be using a CRM and counties will have access to that through the CRM? We'd be able to drop calendaring because national will have that. The only thing we would need to keep would be the website itself, the ability to run a website. Would be the only thing we need to keep, correct?
Yeah, I believe, yes, I do believe that all those things could be shed, making the current IT budget line something to the tune of around $1,500 as a ballpark, plus or minus a bit lighter. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's good. Okay, good to know.
That answers my questions. Thank you, Jim.
Point of information, after this meeting, I am willing to pull up my CRM so you guys can see stuff for people that have not seen it before, or for the board that wants to be able to look at it.
I appreciate that. Anybody else? Well, you don't have to if there's no debate. If there's no more debate on this topic, we are ready to move to a vote.
Just my question would be, what was the exact wording of the motion?
I don't know, you made it.
Well, I sponsored it.
Which means you made it.
Okay, yeah.
I move to adopt. What is that?
What
What were
you
you
can
saying?
say, use your own words. I'm just muttering.
I
things, I'm
move
sorry.
to move our CRM and website hosting to the national CRM and website hosting offerings while still maintaining our current other ancillary services.
Okay. And then that was seconded by what, Mr. Mueller?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a vote. Mr. Gill, do you want to do this, or do you want to have Mr. Cavoli do it?
Point of, for,
Yes.
I did check
Quick.
the book, so unless you specify it's majority of the body, if everyone abstained except one person, that one person is the majority. That is the default voting method, so
Okay.
abstentions are not no's.
National Committee breaks the bylaws every day then. Or breaks Roberts every day.
Specified if like.
But it's-
This is going to take a majority of the body.
Okay.
I'm letting you know right now.
Okay.
This is going to take a majority of the committee, which is 4 of 7.
You want a roll call on that?
Unless
Real
Chris
quick, can
wants
I ask for official wording for the motion? I've got, the motion is to move our website and hosting to the national CRM while still maintaining our other services.
Close enough. That
Yes,
sounds close
that
enough.
works.
Yeah, okay. All right. Is there, just do it in the same order we've been doing it in?
Yeah, come to me last since I'm presiding.
Okay, then I will go ahead with the vote then. So Mr. Cavoli?
Pass.
All right. Mr. Moeller?
Yes.
And me, I'm still going to abstain, just not, I don't have enough of a horse in the race. Mr. Strelo?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Lundstrom?
Yes.
Mr. Taff? Tafe?
Aye.
Never gonna get that right.
Yeah,
All right.
yes.
And Mr. Nana?
I think we are at 4, so I will not vote.
Okay. And then Mr. Cavoli? Back to you.
Yes.
All right. Yay. So by my count, that's 5 yeses. Or maybe, was it 6?
What's 5 and 2 extensions?
5 and 2 abstentions. Okay.
Yeah,
So that
that's
motion
what I have as
passes.
well.
So we will instruct the IT director, or the acting IT director, to make it so. Appreciate everybody's civil discourse on that, and I just wanted to give my sincerest thanks to Mr. Cavoli for all the work he did to put what will become our previous setup in place. It was a yeoman's effort, and certainly this motion, at least as I interpret it, is not a slight in any way. I think, if anything, I think this is to make your life easier, so that you don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. And I would also like to specifically appreciate the other services you have put in place that we will continue to use, because they have been a lifesaver. The Drive is great. It's unlike any other service we've ever used. We used to use Dropbox a while ago. I hated it. This is much easier. The Rocket Chat that you set up for us is an amazing communication tool. And I hope that you will continue to, when you have time, what am I trying to say? Think outside the box and come up with these sorts of solutions still. So it's much appreciated, and I think he deserves a round of applause, honestly. All right.
Sure.
You want to chair again, or you want me to keep it? It's up to you.
Yeah, you can take us home.
All right, I'll take us home. So new business from the, actually, I'm forgetting. We have some old business that was put on the agenda earlier. We had started a discussion about naming the delegation chair for this upcoming national convention. Yes, Ms. Gills.
I would like to stipulate, based on our previous discussion, that we did make quorum and that vote should have been considered between business.
That was my memory, but
There are 4 votes in that.
so let me.
I mean,
What
so
were the results then?
if I
There were
may,
4 votes for, so that would make quorum.
And what was the
yes.
decision?
Yes, they were all affirmative.
Well, for him, for you to be
me.
delegation chair.
if I may,
Yes.
I don't think there was a ruling ever made in the chat on that motion.
About whether or not to tell her.
Either way, so to your discretion on it.
Well,
I
it
think
would
could
technically be you, but yeah, I would say let's just do it clean, because I don't think the result's going to change. Let's just have a motion in a second and a vote real quick here, and then make it so. So is there a motion or any discussion? Actually,
I will move to select Helen Gilson as the National Convention Delegation Chair.
perfect. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any discussion?
Who
on
was
this
the
motion?
second?
The second was Mr. Cavoli.
Only discussion would be, we had talked about me helping out, so it sounds like
You
the
don't.
ruling now is there is not a teller position that exists, so it doesn't make sense.
That is correct. And what happens from now on, and honestly, you probably won't be the only teller, just
Yeah.
simply because that's unless you are there the whole time to do it. But Ms. Gilson can delegate any of her duties to anybody that she wants to,
Okay, just like a division.
and I'm
leader
sure she will.
builds her own team.
Sure, yeah, and historically, if you want the historical context, the delegation chair really doesn't do a ton. It's more of a formal title. It's not like they have to actually wrangle cats. They're basically there to, their chief role is to make sure there's nobody sitting in our delegation that's not supposed to be there, essentially.
And to recite some novel facts about Ohio when prompted.
Yes, I forgot. Yeah, so the delegation chair will get called upon at national convention to give like a little rah-rah 5-second elevator pitch about Ohio. And I'm hoping she'll say OH or something to that.
Yeah, can't just to say
Please don't say that. I'm trying to win. I did give an OH at the Michigan convention. It was met with booze. I did get a couple of IOs though, so
Still working.
we're everywhere. Yeah, so I mean, that's your context. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this motion? I am not hearing or seeing anything, so we can move to a vote.
Real quick, just to clear up the quorum issue, Jim, we need 60% participation for online quorum vote, right?
That would have been 60%.
4 would have been 60 though, right?
Let's take this.
57.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because we're fixing it regardless.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. So I think we're ready to move to a vote. Mr. Gill, are you ready to take the roll?
Sure. Mr. Cavoli,
Yes.
Mr. Moeller,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Mr. Strelo,
Yes.
Mr. Lundstrom,
Yes.
Tafe,
Yes.
and Mr. Nana.
I don't have to vote. Congratulations.
I just wanted to figure out how it works because it seems important. And wanted to give up, so we have a lot of stuff in play. I wasn't sure how much like organizing who is going stuff seemed like most of the work.
Okay. Yeah, and we appreciate you for stepping up and also you for offering to help her. That's much appreciated.
So we have a teller also, is that correct?
Yes.
We don't need to officially name a teller if that's what you asked. No.
Okay.
Actually,
Mr. Lundstrom.
I don't know if this makes sense to say it now, but if a public service announcement about convention stuff, I don't know if that would make sense to.
There's a board comments and concerns coming up literally next.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that.
All right, so I have no other new business from the floor or old business that we did not take care of. This is your opportunity to bring new business to the floor if you have any non-previously noticed. If there is any, now's the opportunity. Not seeing any motions from the floor. So we will move to closing comments. First item is board comments and concerns. And Mr. Lundstrom had one.
I have 2. So first one, if you're planning on going to national convention with all of the Ukraine and oil stuff, over the last 10 days, ticket prices nearly doubled from like $400-ish to like $750-ish. It may keep going up or it may drop back down when everything goes less crazy, but I would recommend getting it now because I would guess up is the direction that it keeps trending.
I would second that. And, you know, even if that wasn't going on, ticket prices tend to go up as you get closer to the date of travel anyhow. I got my tickets for like $500, so I'm saddened to hear that they've gone up another $250, but also glad that I bought them when I did.
Yes.
I bought mine.
A note on that, oil fuels are actually down below $100. So they might be coming down in the next week or so.
It might, but
I think if
I don't
anything, it might
know.
just stay steady because of the competing interests of it being closer to the event as well as gas prices going down, jet fuel prices.
I just want to give a warning. You can do with it what you will, but if I bought my ticket and I'm telling the people to buy their tickets.
So do two things.
Oh yeah, and the other one. So this is speaking as an at-large representing Warren County. Warren County is planning on setting up their own CRM because they were tired of the amount of time it was taking to get CRM stuff set. The question that I've been asked is it possible for data to be exported for a county to use? I want to confirm with the body that my understanding is because the county does not own the data, the state owns the data. Like the state can demand our data back from national because we still owned it even with the national CRM, but the state, I don't know, gathered the data and owns it, so the county can't ask for it back from the state.
This sounds like something we should absolutely discuss further.
I can probably answer the question. The overall answer pretty much is no. The literal answer is yeah, we could theoretically, once we get on national CRM, rip the data and then share it with the county. But I would perceive that as a violation of our NDA, and or if it wasn't an immediate violation, it could turn into one based on what the folks do with the data we give, and then that becomes our fault.
Okay. And I think that also my understanding from Phil is when we're on the national, he was planning on joining back anyways. So if we're going to be on the national in 2 months,
You will be able to set up,
you
should be able to set up access
Sign the NDA.
specifically for
this
his
should
county.
be discussed much, yes,
okay.
further.
But we could take this offline and discuss.
Yep. I just wanted it to be in the ether.
Appreciate it.
Sure is.
Any other board comments or concerns? Questions?
Question, Mr. Lundstrom, did you ever receive traction on getting an IT director? I know you had a candidate.
So
I remember
I was apparently misinformed. I had a few people that were interested in helping with IT, but not assuming the director role themselves. So essentially being under a director.
And I did reach out to the individuals and they're not, and my understanding is they're not specifically developers as we thought they might be.
Okay, so they're not specialized and or senior enough.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Mr. Cavoli.
I'd just like to touch back on my earlier comment about the permitless carry bill that passed recently. There's a lot of other both good and bad legislation that's moving. It's been a very active session, especially as the pandemic has kind of closed out and everybody's felt more empowered and excited to do things. I would encourage everyone to have certainly here to have a look through the list that Kevin has provided reference on bills that are moving in the political report, and call your representatives. Just a reminder to everybody here and to the people at home and all the members of the party to try and that machine is moving and fast again, and it rattles about, and sometimes a good thing like that bill falls out, and sometimes it swings a lot the other way. So be sure to keep abreast of some of that. And I mean, there's a few others that are interesting, but I just would want to encourage everyone to check up on that and give your representatives a call.
A letter to the editor wouldn't hurt.
Because I don't remember if the bill about allowing owls and falconing has passed or not, or has been reintroduced. But yeah, I think it passed.
I think we need to hammer them on the continuing to grow the carry. They removed a very important provision from the bill before they passed it that I think we need to try to get reintroduced as another piece of legislation.
What was that?
They removed the section from the bill.
They removed the portion prohibited law enforcement officers using someone carrying a weapon legally as cause for search and seizure from the bill.
Yeah,
I think we need to put.
I'm not.
Ostensibly, if you believe that the courts back that up correctly, it isn't ultimately. I mean,
Right, because you can't be searched for doing something legal.
Yeah.
So theoretically, I
already
want to
law.
take the charitable approach and say that they took it out because it was redundant to what the current law already says. As of whether or not it goes that way, who knows?
And yet civil asset forfeiture exists.
Yeah, there's also not a duty to inform unless you are specifically asked, so that's nice. So unless a police officer, which I'm sure they're all going to ask now, but unless a police officer specifically asks you when you get pulled over, are you carrying a firearm or something to that effect, you do not have to inform them, which is cool.
It's still moving in the right direction that even if they could detain you for legally owning a gun, it is legal now. Like,
Right, so
they're
yeah.
not gonna press charges for you concealing a gun without a permit, even if they could detain you, which is like, it's less of a step in the right direction you're hoping, but it's still like
It's a
3/4 step.
yeah, it's a
More
very
than
positive bill. I'm happy that it happened.
Like I said, just
I'm
reminders.
not happy too. That original language was, it gave someone carrying permitless the same legal rights as someone who was carrying with a permit. And I'm
that's fine.
disappointed that.
Yeah, you cut out, but I think we got the gist of it. Any other board comments or concerns?
Is there anything on YouTube, any comment?
No.
Well, that'll be next. I myself, I will take this opportunity to let everybody know that if you did not already know, I am running for re-election for regional representative. I would appreciate your support in Reno. If not, no hard feelings, but I would definitely like to be reelected. I think there are some things that unfortunately we didn't really get to on this board that I would like to get to, maybe with a more cohesive body. We'll see what happens. I think that speaking for myself, I did a pretty good job of staying out of the drama and the sniping on the email list, and I intend to continue that practice if reelected. This will take us to public comment. So any comments from the gallery or from the stream? Sounds like there are no comments on the stream. Ms. McCutcheon.
So I would like to remind everyone that is going to National to book now for the Day of Education, which is the Thursday before Memorial Day weekend. If you have not yet done it, I think we are about half full at this point. And I would love to see it stacked with Ohio people. My candidate is already registered for the future candidate course. So get off your behind
He's
and
a
go
current
your way.
So what are we supposed to actually do? Like, I got my package and I have my plane tickets, and like, do I just show up or do I have to like sign
You
something
have to
extra?
sign up ahead of time. It's on the lnc2022.com for all our listeners.
What was that link again?
That was lnc2022.com. Keep this in mind when you get your next fundraising letter.
Yeah, and on the topic of fundraising, I'm happy to report that the donations specifically from our region, at least from the few people I've talked to on donor calls, are in the 4 digits specifically for that day of training. So this is something that people are hungry for. They're happy that it's happening, and they're willing to just straight up give their money to know, not even to sponsor it, but just to know, oh, this is happening. Cool, I'm giving you 4 digits, multiple 4-digit donations, just because they're happy to see it. So that's great stuff, and I'm really happy that we're doing it. It's something that I think we need to do more of as a party to create that institutional knowledge and maintain it, rather than have this constant rollover of membership where people are checking in, checking out, and we don't remember what the best practices were of the past.
Show me how to find this. I'm not finding it.
Are there any YouTube questions coming in, Mr. Chair?
What was that, Mr. Strelo?
Are there any comments coming in from the public YouTube?
No, not that I'm seeing.
I would like to move at this time to end public comments.
Let me make that we have quite a few people in the room here. Let me make sure. Let me make sure that there's nobody else that wants to talk before we do that. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to make a public comment?
Public comment that one of the best ways for us to continue winning hearts and minds to the Libertarian cause is to volunteer for issues that are close to your heart. There are several ongoing initiatives that we work with nonpartisan allies, criminal justice reform, gun reform, education, immigration. And if anybody has something that they were wanting to work on and didn't know the appropriate contact, please get in touch with me and I will hook them up with our local activists.
Good stuff. Anybody else? Ms. Gilson?
I would just like to remind the body that we're obligated by bylaws to have our delegation set by 40 days prior, which would put us right about close to Easter. So we should be very careful how we schedule our next meeting to coincide with the dates necessary.
Yeah, but, April 18th, is that what it is officially?
That's not official, I think it's the 20th, but.
Okay, so yeah, we should put our meeting before that to ratify.
Right. But right before that is Easter weekend.
Right, okay. Noted. So, is there any other public comment? If not, I'll take a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to close public comment. Without objection, we'll consider it closed. Cool, public comment is closed. The only thing left to do would be to schedule the next meeting.
April 9th, 10 a.m., same places and times.
Let me check my schedule, make sure. Although it sounds like it pretty much has to be that day regardless. Huh?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it could be the second.
Well, and then,
Right now,
yeah.
you won't make it on the 9th? Okay. Is there anybody else who is unavailable on the 9th?
I'm good, but I'm not needed for quorum.
Right. I like having you here.
I'm okay if you guys can meeting without me.
Sure.
I'll just see the finance director report in advance.
Are you available the 10th? Is it just that day or that weekend? We could do a Sunday meeting if we had to.
We can do the 10th.
This building gets loud on Sundays, there's churches upstairs.
Yeah, and it's gonna be Palm Sunday weekend.
Ooh, it's probably the food upstairs.
The second is an option, although that is only 2 weeks from today.
I'm out of town for the second.
Okay, well then you
Yeah,
just
then it's-
you just suck.
That's fair. The 16th.
No, I know we're supposed to hold a meeting monthly, but is there pressing issues that need us to have a meeting in the next 3
Yeah.
weeks? Could we?
Yes, Mr. Strela, we need to set our delegates for national before the.
Sorry, I missed that. Never mind.
Yeah, that's okay. So we need to have it either the 2nd, the 9th, or the 16th. The 16th is Easter weekend.
Oh, is that Easter weekend?
So we decided 16th is probably out. The 9th looks like the best weekend, personally to me, but
Yeah.
not just my decision.
Good.
I've moved the 9th.
Okay, we have a motion for the
I'll
9th.
second it.
Yes, Mr. Strelo? You
I said I'll
seconded?
second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second for the 9th at 10 a.m. here at headquarters and through various electronic means.
Discussion.
Yes, we'll move to discussion. Yes, Mr. Lundstrom.
We're just gonna essentially be stamping a list as compiled by Helen, essentially. Unless there is something contentious happening.
Unless somebody or something contentious applies to the, yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Unless there,
It's not a stated meeting for a specific purpose though, right? It's an XCOM meeting.
No, it'll be an XCOM meeting where that will be on the agenda.
Yeah. Then I think I'm good not attending, and if you guys can give me like a heads up, I should be able to call in for like 10, 15 minutes if you need an extra vote on it, or even if you can post the list ahead of time, that would make it really easy to then just review in advance and be ready to call in for 5 minutes.
having done this in the past, generally there is that collateral ahead of time in the meetings.
Yeah, and
Reports.
Okay, perfect. Then I will be in favor of this date, even though I'm not attending.
appreciate your willingness to help us set it. So motion and a second. We heard some comments from Mr. Lundstrom. Any other comments on this date and time? Hearing and seeing none. We will move to a vote. Mr. Gill, can you call the roll?
Do we need a roll call vote on this, or can it just pass without
Yeah, I'm
objection?
sorry. Is there any, yeah, you're right. Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Is there any objection to this time and date? Hearing none, we will meet here April 9th at 10 a.m.